For centuries, society has had a real problem with sex.
So we did what we always do, blame the devil.
Ha! Succubi and incubi were the original bedtime intruders. They were blamed for lust, sleep paralysis, and the kind of dreams you couldn't confess at church.
Masturbation meant possession. Boners meant blasphemy.
Unholy urges got blamed on demons. A rogue erection counted as evidence. Even a wet dream meant you'd been spiritually compromised, probably mid-thrust.
Brace yourself for temptations, midnight visitations, and infernal hookups.
This is Spookology, and tonight, we're slipping between the sheets with some dirty devils in Episode 4, Sex, Sin, and Supernatural Seduction. Hey Spooklings, it's me Keek, writer, researcher, chaos wrangler, and your guide to the creepiest corners of the historical record. My mom calls me Nicole, but only when I'm in trouble.
And I'm Cardi. I ask questions, crack the jokes, and occasionally get haunted by my own Google searches.
Each week we're bringing you something strange from the past. True crime, folklore, and spooky history that refuses to stay buried.
If it's cursed, creepy, or just plain weird, probably have a tab open about it. Yeah, I know about succubi. I let them come into my dreams. They should come here. Come here, please.
He loves the succubi. Welcome to Spookology, nerds. It's about to get sexy weird in here. Guys, we are super sorry that we didn't put out our episode last week. This is the one we were advertising, but we had some family stuff.
A lot of family stuff.
It was all Cardi's fault.
I had one family thing. She had two, so don't blame me. Do not blame me.
It's always Cardi's fault.
Yeah.
So I knew you were gonna love this episode, Cardi, because it's about succubi.
Mm.
Aren't they pretty sexy in World of Warcraft?
Oh, yeah, they are. I'll go toe-to-toe with them. Not in fighting styles.
Yeah, you would. All right, weirdo. Well, long before they were called succubi and incubi, they were already crawling through dreams. In ancient Mesopotamia, there were spirits called Lilu and Lilitu. They were male and female night demons who slipped into bedrooms. They caused erotic dreams, and they drained the strength of the living. In Jewish folklore, later adapted Lilitu into Lilith, the infamous first wife of Adam who refused to submit. She left Eden and became a baby-killing sex demon. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, baby killing, not so much, but sex demon, I like that.
I knew you were going to be about that part.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I mean, but your famous line is also fuck them kids, so I thought, Lilith would be your girl.
But I wouldn't want a kid to be killed, though. That's bad, but just a fuck.
All right. Well, in later mystical texts like the Alphabet of Ben Sira and in the Zohar, which everybody knows, Lilith becomes the mother of succubi. It's a whole lineage of night spirits born from her defiance.
If I'm correct, wasn't so Lilith was was Adam's wife.
First wife, before Eve.
Before Eve.
Yep, she failed. She was a fail. She wouldn't submit.
There was some stories about that. Lilith was the mother of all demons that run with the devil.
So in a lot of lore, Lilith was Adam's first wife, and when she refused to submit to him, she was cursed to never have babies. So she would have stillborns, and then she would try black magic to give them life, and they became demons.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I knew something along those lines that she was the mother of all the demons that run in hell.
Right. It's said that her daughters would seduce men in their sleep and then steal their seed and use it to birth more demons.
So I got a couple down there then? All right. Sounds good.
You might, yeah. It sounds like you might.
Yeah.
Yes. We invented an entire sexual haunting genealogy because clearly that's easier than acknowledging wet dreams. Because Catholic.
So just remember when you were a kid, when you're 13, 14 years old, and you had your first wet dream, it probably was a succubus doing that to you.
It was probably a succubus, and that probably means you're going to hell. So I'll meet you guys there.
Oh, all they gotta do is repent, and they'll be good.
Greek mythology also had some sex demons. They had the Lamia, a woman turned monster after the gods punished her for sleeping with Zeus. You ever heard of the Lamia?
No, did not.
I know they have Lamia in a lot of games that look like they're half serpent and they live in water, but apparently,
Oh, Lamia, like Medusa.
yeah. But well, no, she was a Gorgon. She was a Gorgon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, she was a Gorgon, but they had like serpent bodies and
Right, right. Then they had in Islamic lore, they had certain kinds of jinn. You know what jinn are, right?
yeah.
They're the like elemental spirits. They were certain jinn that were said to seduce or assault sleeping humans. Why when we're sleeping, dude? If I'm gonna get like sexed up, I want to do it awake though.
Oh no, they could do stuff in the dreams that they can't do in the real world. Imagine having Lamia was a succubus. Imagine having a Lamia in the real world. How you gonna work with that?
I don't know. I'm sure we'd figure something out. They're magical, right?
Yeah. So what? They magically make a vagina?
Maybe. Well, I don't really need a vagina. I have my own.
I we gotta have one men do so we can do something.
So you got somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were just really creative.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes these succubi would visit you asleep or awake, sometimes for punishment, sometimes just for chaos. And I'm always down with the chaos.
Oh yeah. A little bit of chaos goes a long way into this one.
It can be fun. In early Hindu texts, you'll find references to spirits called the Vitala. They were dream stalkers. What they would do was tempt you or deceive you or exhaust you through illusion and desire.
Mm, just-
They would force you to have sexy dreams until you were too tired to live.
Damn. But hey, some guys like I want to go out that way.
Maybe that's the best way to go out. At least you'll be happy, man.
Yeah. Dying with a big old smile on your face.
You would, Cardi.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perfect way for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sex demons didn't go viral in the Middle Ages. They've been haunting humanity since we invented shame. And we're talking thousands of years, okay? But they weren't just blamed for lust, they were blamed for life. Women who gave birth to stillborns or had deformities or even miscarried could be accused of consorting with demons. Some children were even labeled changelings, and they were supposedly evidence of unnatural unions between women and incubi. You weren't just a mother, you were suspicious by default.
The plus side about being a man, you can't be blamed for that.
Right. Yeah, you could just get ostracized by the church for having a boner in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Sometimes the myth flipped, though. Men accused of rape or unwanted pregnancy would claim it wasn't their fault. A succubus had come to them in a dream and they were seduced or possessed or tricked. Centuries later, the same excuse lives on, just with fewer horns and more Reddit posts. It wasn't until the medieval church got involved that these spirits were classified and named. So the names succubus comes from the Latin succubare, which literally means to lie beneath. And incubus comes from incubare, which means to lie upon. So, missionary. Evil, evil missionary.
Nice.
Literally, the term missionary comes from the church's own missionaries who used to teach converts that sex should only happen face to face, man on top, and strictly for procreation, so you were not supposed to like it. Anything outside of that was considered demonic, animalistic, and unholy. Cardi, outside the church's teaching.
We fell upon that. We do not do that anymore.
Oh no.
That's like one position out of like 6 of when you're going at it.
That's not even how we start anymore.
Nope.
By the 12th and 13th centuries, succubi and incubi weren't just whispered nightmares. They were actual church doctrine. They appeared in witch trial confessions, monastic treatises, and theological manuals that framed lust as both sin and symptom. A sex dream wasn't just natural, it was spiritual evidence and possibly a sign of possession.
They can come possess my dreams.
So we've come from ancient sex spirits, right, to medieval church in the 12th and 13th century, actually using succubi and incubi and wet dreams as proof of witchcraft. Is that not crazy? Was there ever a time that sex was just cool? Because I like it a lot now. Well, succubi and incubi were invoked by the church to explain sexual phenomena that were otherwise taboo or difficult to account for, like sleep paralysis, wet dreams, or intrusive erotic thoughts. Just natural, adult human things. These explanations were especially useful in monastic settings where sexual abstinence was not only expected, but demanded. If a monk experienced a sexual dream or ejaculation during sleep, it was sometimes blamed on a succubus. Likewise, nuns reporting vivid or disturbing dreams might be told they had been visited by a demon, because obviously the real horror is your body working as intended.
Yeah.
By framing these by framing these experiences as demonic attacks rather than biological or psychological events, the church could preserve its expectations of celibacy without acknowledging the human reality of desire. Nothing to see here, just a little midnight spiritual assault to keep your vows intact. It also reinforced the idea that any failure to maintain purity was external, something done to you by a force of evil, rather than just a natural part of being, human. Because God forbid you just have a sex dream. Nope, has to be a demon, probably with tits, maybe wings. The demon based explanation of sexuality eventually extended beyond the cloister and into wider society, especially during periods of intense religious fear and persecution. For instance, during early modern witch hunts, accusations frequently included charges of sexual relations with demons. Women were said to consort with incubi, bear half demon offspring, or use succubi to seduce others. Can you imagine if I could control a succubus?
Oh,
The chaos
that.
I would wreak. These accusations were used to justify imprisonment, torture, and execution. And they didn't even try to make it make sense. Just, she lives alone, probably fucking the devil. And just in case you thought this was just all theory, let's talk about Johannes Junius. Now, this is the guy we gotta talk about. He was the mayor of Bamberg, Germany in 1628. He was accused of witchcraft during one of the worst phases of the witch trials. Under torture, he confessed to being seduced by a demon, specifically a female demon who threatened to kill him unless he renounced God. Of course, he was fucking her, but she was going to kill him, so he had to renounce God. He said the demon appeared at night, forced him to accept the devil, and gave him a familiar named Fuchsin. Isn't that a cute name? No, I think it's pronounced Fuchsin because it's German, and it literally translates to little fox. That's what ended up in the trial record. But here's what didn't. From prison, Junius secretly wrote a letter to his daughter. In it, he said, quote, "Innocent have I come into prison. Innocent have I been tortured. Innocent must I die. For whoever comes into the witch prison must become a witch or be tortured until he invents something out of his head." He literally died because the story fit their narrative, because the demon gave them someone to blame. Because once the accusation stuck, the only way out was confession, and confession meant death. And if that's what they did to the mayor, you can imagine how they treated midwives, widows, and anyone with a womb. Now, if you'd like to read Junius's writings, he has some that are actually published. They're all over historical sites, and I will put links in the show notes because they're very interesting. The letters he writes, in some of them, he describes some of his confessions, which get very racy, but they're also, completely out of this world. And this man was executed for saying that he did these things with a demon, with a sex demon, and people believed him.
Yeah. Back in those days, this is the monk, right? Or
He was just the mayor of Bamberg.
oh, so he was a respectable man.
Yep, and it was during like witch trials. Apparently, he got on somebody's bad side because the church said, "Yeah, he's a witch. He must be fucking some succubi." But at least he got Fuchsin, right? Who doesn't want a little fox familiar?
Yeah.
Sounds like an anime, except for the dying in the end. Well, okay, so succubi in particular were sometimes blamed for oh, we were talking about midwives, huh?
Yeah.
Anyone with a womb. Anyone with a womb. So succubi in particular were sometimes blamed for infertility. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have science back then, right? Just crazy. So if a woman couldn't conceive or if she miscarried, it wasn't blamed on nature or bad luck. It was demons tampering with her womb, siphoning vitality, or stealing life altogether.
Back then, it wasn't the men's fault.
No, it could never be the man's fault.
No.
God forbid. God did forbid that, actually. Can you imagine? You just lost a baby, and then all of a sudden you're under suspicion for being a witch because you just lost a baby?
Yeah, that's horrible.
That's horrendous. The most notorious example of this logic appears in the Malleus Maleficarum, which we have talked about before. It literally translates to the Hammer of Witches, and it's a witch hunting manual written by Heinrich Kramer in 1487. The book argued that women were especially vulnerable to demonic seduction because they were more impressionable, more emotional, and more carnal by nature. Translation: women had feelings and opinions, and nobody likes that.
Nope. Keep your guys' opinions to yourself. No, I'm just fucking around. I'm just fucking around people.
How dare you? How dare you, Bacardi? Yeah, he hates women with opinions. That's why we're hanging out.
Yeah.
Despite being garbage scholarship, even by medieval standards, the Malleus Maleficarum held serious influence. It was sanctioned by certain parts of the church when it was first published, even though later Catholic scholars called it out for being paranoid, misogynistic nonsense. That didn't stop it, however, from shaping trials all across Europe. This is the book that they used in the Salem witch trials. Kramer wrote that women were, quote, more impressionable and had, quote, slippery tongues and were incapable of keeping secrets. Basically, a 15th century subtweet. The book even included advice on how to interrogate women about demon sex, how to check for physical signs of incubus activity, and whether devil semen was real. Do you think devil semen is real, Cardi? I know you believe in a lot of things, but do you believe in devil semen?
Well, the devil did have a kid.
You think he used his jizz, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Because clearly, when you're torturing someone to death, what matters most is the theological jizz verification. This book claimed that incubi could collect semen from men and deliver it to women through magical means. That's right, Cardi. They were demon cum couriers. So now we have the UPS, Unholy Parcel Service.
Yep.
Can you imagine these guys in with their like mailman sacks and their little mailman shirts and hats with their horns and everything, just carrying around packages of cum?
No, I can't imagine that. That's just.
I see it in my head right now.
Yeah.
Well, it also stated that succubi use their appearance and sexual power to weaken men and draw them away from God. Because if you're hot and you have perky tits, you probably hate God, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe men just had a horny dream and didn't want to take responsibility for it. But who's saying that?
Not us, man.
Of course not.
It was a succubus that did it.
Had to be a succubus.
Yep.
Yeah, if I have to have a succubus, let it be Anita Blake. Okay? That's all I have to say about that.
Wow.
Because of this framework, women accused of witchcraft were often interrogated specifically about sexual encounters with demons. They were expected to describe the sensations, describe the dirty, dirty acts, and even the appearance of their supposed partners. Which means medieval inquisitors were basically running a torture-based fan fiction archive. I would read that.
All right, people, just for reference, when she says Anita Blake, she's not very well known, but she is a vampire hunter. She's a comic book character.
A Marvel character. That's right. Thank you, Cardi.
Yeah, you said Anita Blake with no reference. So people are like, who? Anita Blake?
My bad. She's a super badass, black-haired, half Mexican, half German vampire hunter who inherits something called the ardeur from her vampire lover, who happens to be the king of America. And it makes her absorb her powers through group sex. Great books. Great books. And the comics are cool too.
Yeah.
She is a Marvel character, though. One of my favorite, of course.
You would like that.
But yeah, it's right up my alley.
Yep.
I'd like to get up her alley. Anyway, Cardi, back to back to the Malleus Maleficarum. Oh, we were talking about the torture-based fan fiction archive, which I feel like Anita Blake should be in. I mean, they literally kept records of these women being tortured and just making up sex scenes with demons. I feel like we need to investigate what was going on inside these churchmen's heads while they were listening to this. They were just like collecting spank bank material and then killing people for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sounds sketchy to me. But, I have a womb, so I must be crazy.
Yeah, you are.
Any reluctance to answer these questions was taken as proof of guilt, while compliance confirmed the church's belief and meant guilt. This is another ducking situation. It's a lose-lose logic. And it's brought to you by the people who genuinely thought orgasms could summon Satan, so that checks. And just when you think it can't get any weirder, enter Ludovico Maria Sinistrari. Sinistrari was a 17th century Catholic priest. He wrote an entire treatise called De Demonialitate, arguing that incubi weren't demons at all, but their own separate species. They were aliens. I think that Eunice would
Yeah.
like this theory. They were actual physical beings, he said, with bodies, with anatomy. According to him, they ate, they slept, and, quote, they discharged other natural functions, which means they probably shit, pissed, and obviously they fucked.
And spit. And spit.
Yeah, they got to spit. He wasn't theorizing spiritual metaphors. He was cataloging sex goblins like a field biologist. Sex goblins.
Goblin. Oh, yeah. No bueno. Goblins. Yeah.
In his writings, he claimed that one woman was visited for 20 years by the same incubus. It spoke to her gently. It had a full human form, and she described their relationship as loving and completely physical. So, yeah, somehow this guy was less repressed than half of the witch hunters. That's a problem. This weaponization of sexuality wasn't just about fear, though, Cardi. It was about power. The church holding the power, the church denying power to the peasants. And by defining sexual experiences as signs of possession or heresy, the church maintained authority over people's bodies, over their dreams, and their fucking private thoughts. Imagine that. Somebody decided, your private thoughts are now my business. And if you have the wrong ones, I'm going to burn you at a stake.
Oh, is that what marriage is?
Yeah, but we do a lot less of the burning and a lot more like, you can't have an allowance this week.
Yeah.
Getting aroused used to count as guilt. Staying still didn't help either. So either your body betrayed you or your soul did. Just a little addendum there. I made a little note about it. My observation of the church's logic is usually not that, what's the word I'm looking for? Tame. I'm usually fuck shitting a lot more than that.
Yeah, definitely she is.
But the whole situation is just a lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah, especially for the female.
Especially for someone like me. I like sex a lot. It's fun. It's a good workout.
You're getting older. Should calm down.
I mean, I'm careful with my hip. I don't know what to say about Bones and his heartburn, but
That Bones is the first person I know that gets heartburn because of sex. That's just I get heartburn because of spicy food.
I got a sweet, sweet ass, okay? I'm pretty spicy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Bones got to stop eating ass then.
Never.
Maybe he'll stop his heartburn.
No, the doctor says he's got to stop smoking. That's the answer. The point is that any deviation from acceptable behavior, especially in women, could be turned into spiritual evidence. In this way, they can control what you do, what you wear, what you think, how you look, how you act. And this is the way they use succubi and incubi to become more than folklore, but like a feedback loop of repression, guilt, and control. They were terrifyingly effective. And they still can be today. Because succubi and incubi never really left our realm of possibility. They just got better lighting. And they definitely got sexier outfits.
Oh, yeah, definitely do.
And most of them got a Hollywood deal or a game developer deal.
Yeah, definitely game. More in the games than actual movies.
Yep, for sure. In modern media, they show up everywhere, horny, hot, and very rarely subtle. Because what's the point of a subtle succubus? In video games, they're usually overpowered, way underdressed, and designed for maximum fantasy appeal because that's how I like my succubi. I'm just saying.
Yep. It's one game I used to play called Terra in Masses. One of the monsters that you fight is Lilith. And man, I would just get underneath her just to get hit by a mechanic just to watch.
Just to watch.
Yep.
I thought Lilith in Diablo 4 was pretty hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the character that she joins up with the Greys in Dragon Age?
Don't remember. Yeah, I'm not.
But she was hot too.
Yeah.
She was one of my favorite. We've got Bayonetta, Persona. There's a pretty hot succubus in The Witcher. If you can fight it or fuck it, chances are it's got horns and bad intentions, and it's gonna spotlight in your video game. In anime, they're equal parts fetish and fantasy. We've got Rosario and vampire. We've got how do you say that? High school D&D?
DXD.
High school DXD.
Yeah.
Monmusu, Sleepy Princess in the Demon Castle, because
Yeah.
that's a favorite. The vibe is usually, oops, I tripped and fell into your cleavage, but who doesn't love that?
They call that lucky skibby
Lucky Skibby.
in animation terms. And yeah, lucky skibby.
And then shows like Supernatural and Buffy, they get whole plot lines. In Buffy, what's her name? The one that ends up marrying Xander or falling in love with Xander. She was like a revenged demon sort of succubi.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. I'm going to look it up because I really like that character. Buffy characters. Anya, her name is Anyanka.
Anya Jenkins.
That was a bad bitch. She's so hot. She's still in some stuff. I've seen her, and she's got to be like 50 now, and that bitch is so beautiful, dude. One of our more underrated actresses from the 90s. She's gorgeous. Let's see. What's your favorite anime succubus? Because you're the anime head.
My favorite anime succubus?
Mhm.
There's a couple of them. I would have to go with be the best. And it would probably be the mom of this one called Astaroth no Omocha. The mom of the
What's up with you and moms?
I don't know. But yeah, the mom on there, she was just oh no. Never mind. Albedo from Overlord.
Oh, why is she your favorite?
Black hair, horns, just madly in love with the main character. So if I'm the main character, woo, she can be madly in love with me. And then the other one from Rosaria Vampire, Karuma Corona.
I liked Albedo, but I was really into shit. I can't remember the name. You know, I don't watch anime as much as you guys do. I gotta watch Rosario Vampire.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, you think I'll like it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out. Bones told me don't even try to watch High School DxD.
Yeah, it's good. Just there's a lot of crazy shit in there. Lot of crazy shit.
Oh, and don't forget that we have to watch the next season of Dundadum when it comes out. I saw that there's a new season coming.
I saw the first 3 episodes already.
You fucker.
I saw the movie.
I disown you, Bacardi.
I watched the movie.
You're out of the will.
You know you're not going to kick me out of the will.
Well, you guys get the point. Demons, they used to be feared. Now they have whole fan bases. Especially Anita Blake, because she's a bad bitch. She has big guns, okay? And I'm not talking about her chesticles. They've always been visual. Medieval art depicted succubi with wings, claws, forked tongues, equal parts erotic and grotesque. But later artists leaned in harder. Felician Rops, Franz von Stuck, and even Dante, as in Dante's Inferno, Dante Gabriel Rossetti. They painted them as dangerous women with supernatural allure. The vibe was always don't trust her, but maybe stare a little longer, like Albedo. I always want to look at her a little longer. She has interesting stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like her outfits are always on point.
Yep.
Lilith, the supposed mother of demons, has had pop culture glow ups too. In the Shadowhunter series by Cassandra Clare. Now, I'm obsessed with Shadowhunters, but in the Shadowhunters, she's like a supervillain. She's a literal demon queen. In True Blood, which I'm sure we've all watched. Have you watched True Blood?
No.
Oh, it's one of those kind of like Vampire Diaries series.
That's why I didn't watch it, because it was Vampire Diaries.
It's on HBO, but this one is it's a bit better. It's in the bayou and it's less like drama and more like weird supernatural lore. I think actually you would like it. She's in True Blood, Lilith is a naked blood drinking hallucination. Like you imagine her and then she drinks your blood. And in that new series, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, well, I guess that's not new anymore, right? But I grew up with Sabrina the Teenage Witch, so
Yep.
Lilith is literally Madam Satan in a pencil skirt. She's like the naughtiest librarian ever.
Well, that's the depiction of librarians, though.
Pretty much, yeah.
Unless you got the old moth librarian, to where she has Coke bottle glasses and she's like 70 years old.
And she's yelling
Yep.
as loud as she can.
And she has the harpist. Wait, what was I gonna say? The harshest, the harsh, and the sharpest one.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like, dang.
And her name's probably something like Mrs. Rumpkin.
Or Agnes.
Oh my god. Or Agnes.
Or Eunice.
Oh, don't say that. She's gonna hear this. And she's gonna be
Eunice
like,
is an old person's name.
I'm not listening anymore. Just kidding. She'll keep listening. But I mean, either way, across all of these modern day depictions of Lilith, she's powerful, she's usually pissed off and evil, and probably planning your downfall. And honestly, we love her. I mean, people go crazy for her. Oh, and then there's Anita Blake. We talked about Laurel K. Hamilton's urban fantasy heroine who starts out killing vampires and ends up accidentally absorbing a succubus power and triggering group orgies. Group orgies, guys. The series basically becomes a demon kink fever dream by book 7. It's messy, it's horny, it's somehow about Catholic guilt and were-leopards. But for a lot of readers, that wild sexuality is the whole point. I actually like the murder mysteries and the vampire killing. The Laurel K. Hamilton writes an action scene really well, but there is a lot of Catholic guilt in there.
There's always Catholic guilt.
If there's succubi, there is Catholic guilt. Pop culture has been eating this up for decades. Jennifer's body turned a high school girl into a demon-possessed sex predator and somehow still made her the most relatable character in the film. We had a series called Lost Girl, where the protagonist, Bo, is a bisexual succubus who drains life through sex but also solves crimes. And even in South Park and Family Guy, there are jokes about succubi, sleep paralysis monsters, and demon girlfriends. The joke usually is the same. Women who want sex are dangerous. Men who want sex are victims.
That's right, in South Park. I remember that one. That was like one of my first episodes I ever watched, just by pure happenstance. It was what was his name? Chef was dating the succubus.
Oh, poor Chef. I'm so sad they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's Barry White right there.
I like how they always play porno music whenever he's
Yeah.
talking. These are the original takes, but they evolved from this symbol of horror and repression and control to this like expression of sexuality. Meanwhile, psychological interpretations have caught up with what ancient people called demonic. Sleep paralysis is now understood as a neurological event, 'cause science. One that can involve intense hallucinations, a sense of presence, and yes, erotic sensations, although most people report them to be really scary, like paralysis. And then there's something shadowy in your room that's trying to kill you and not fuck you. But, you know,
Yeah.
everybody experiences it a little different.
Nope.
Turns out not every dream visitor needs an exorcism, Cardi. Sometimes it's just your nervous system getting weird while your brain boots up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still, that same old fear of desire, of vulnerability, of not being in control, it sticks around sex. Sex demons just evolve with the culture. One century they're causing nocturnal emissions, and the next they're corrupting anime protagonists or showing up in your Steam library. 'Cause why not? And deep down, the narrative hasn't changed much. If you're too horny, you're suspicious. If you're not horny enough, something's probably wrong with you. And if you're a woman who wants anything at all, congratulations, you're probably a succubus. Am I a succubus?
I don't think so.
Well, I feel like I am draining the life out of Bones.
It's just his heartburn.
Uh, yeah, I'm so obsessed with Anita Blake, Cardi. I've been trying to find the first 3 editions of her book. We went all over the state. There was one place that said they had them cataloged down in Olympia, and we drove down there and they couldn't find them. They're like in the back rooms in boxes, and they were going through the boxes and they couldn't find. We were there for hours. But I want the first 3. You know, the ones that show how she meets what's his name? Her vampire lover, the king of the vampires. How did I forget his name? I need to read my books again.
I'll look for some around here, some bookstores and everything, see if they have anything.
Cool. Um, if you find them, they're usually expensive because they're out of print. But if you find them, I will pay a pretty penny for that. Jean Claude, his name is Jean Claude. So the way it works is that each vampire, if they're strong enough, they have like a specific power. And some of them have like, they're each unique, right? They're in categories. So some of them are like, have to do with love or desire, and some of them have to do with fear. And some of them have like this weird rotting death powers. But Jean Claude's actually is really unique because he can invoke sexual desire. And in that way, he can suck energy from you using sexual desire and control your mind, kind of. And when she becomes his metaphysical servant, she won't call him master because she refuses because she's a badass bitch. But he does it to save her life because it makes her stronger and it makes her age really slowly. But she starts to absorb some of his power and it kind of evolves to what her personality is like. So instead of controlling people's minds, she can absorb their strength by having sex with them. And then she's so powerful that she needs to have group sex in order to stay alive. It's pretty crazy.
John Claude. I didn't read Anita Blake, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, I will look. I will look at bookstores around here for you. All right. Thanks for slipping into the sheets of demon folklore with us. If you made it through without blushing, you might be a succubus now.
Or at least spiritually compromised, which honestly is kind of our vibe.
If you liked the episode of Spookology, spread the word. Tell your friends. Tell your ex.
Definitely tell your ex. Or you could tell your sleep paralysis demon. We know they're listening. And let them know they can find us on Spotify, Instagram, Coffee, Patreon, and Facebook. Just search Spookology Podcast. We'll pop up like a succubus in heat. Or just check the links in the show notes. That's easier.
Every follow, tip, and share helps us keep digging into the strange, the haunted, and the historically cursed.
Until next time, be careful who you let in your bed. The devil doesn't always come with horns,
Is always horny.
but he is always horny. That was a good one.